Hello everyone, so this is my tutorial for getting yourself set up with development environment for PlayStation 1 Homebrew. Some quick shout outs and context to this video. So first off, there's this YouTube channel with us, I hope that's how you pronounce it, with us. He has a very good series for absolute noobs like I am. I guess I was at this level 1 or 2 years ago. The only part of his videos I don't recommend is the first step, setting up a virtual machine with XP to set up the SDK, because there's a modern and better way to do this natively in Windows 10 or 11. And that's the whole purpose of this video. Another useful site is PSX.dev. It's fairly new. We've just started to draft the getting started page, which tells you about other SDKs like PSN or PSNoob, psyq with Nugget or Nugget, psyq. Yeah, and it has a resource page, which is still pretty blank, but this PSX specs is something you might want to read even before you start, but you'll definitely be referring to it many times as you get into more advanced features of the PlayStation. And of course, we have a Discord server. Feel free to join us. So let's get started. So this doesn't have so much content that I created myself. So mostly I'm using tools or SDKs or programs written by others or compiled by others for us. So shout out to the maintainers of those tools. I mentioned their original Git repositories in this write-up. Shout out to Schnappy, Nicolas, psyq, Dan Hans, 42, and Skitch. They've helped in so many ways that I would need probably over 1 hour video to just summarize the highlights. So there are two methods, a native Windows method and a WSL method. So WSL is the where it's lets you set up Linux in Windows. For a long time, this was the default way of doing things because we need GCC for mipsel. And I was or am not aware of someone who maintains this binary until recently. Now that this binary is natively available for Windows, we basically don't need WSL, but I'm just going to show you how to do both. You can have both set up permanently, it's not an issue. So first thing first, the emulator we're going to use is Redux, so download it from here. I've already done that to save time in this video. So download it. Or have I? No, I haven't yet. So yeah, download that. It comes as a zip. Download the latest release. It's not so big. That's one of the cool points of it. It's pretty lightweight, amongst other points. Then just, I don't know, unzip it somewhere. Yeah, wherever. So I'll not be able to run it because I'm actually running everything in a Windows 11 virtual machine. But yeah, normally you just run that. It will tell you, this is dangerous because we don't know the publisher. Run anyway at your own risk. But as I said, we cannot run it in the virtual machine because we don't have OpenGL access. So I'll switch to my main workstation later to show you that part. Next in the instructions, let's put this to the side so that we can go step by step. So next we're going to install Visual Studio, which is just download, run the setup, agree to the license, click next, 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 install. Then you want to download all of these extensions. These are my recommended extensions. There are more that Visual Studio will recommend you to install, and yeah, decide for yourself. But basically you have to open, or let me, you have to open each one. It will take you to the Visual Studio Marketplace. Click install. It will launch Visual Studio. Take you to the extensions page. Hold on, let's disconnect from WSL, close remote connection. Do that again. And yeah, so they're already installed for me, so I don't have to reinstall them, but that's normally what you do. Install them all, C, C++, Task Manager, GitHub pull requests and issues, native debug. Next, clone this repository. So I actually updated it. So you can either clone it with Git commands if you have access to that and know how to do it. If not, just download the zip. It's not too big. Cool. Let's go to the folder. And what you do is, I already had that downloaded. So it's the previous one. Unzip it somewhere. I don't recommend it here, but for now, let's do that. So it's gonna be within a folder with the same name. So there we go. So this is our folder. We have get started. This is like our hello world program. So basically, if you want to make a new program, I recommend you copy this folder, but keep it within this VS Code main folder, because everything has a relative reference to this third-party folder. Next, we need to download psyq from here, specifically this one. And once you download it, open it with 7-zip. Do I have 7-zip? You know what? It's easier this way. So 7-zip. Zip. Got to love Windows. Open that. Now here's the slightly annoying part. So you could, if you go to the third-party folder, go to the psyq folder, you could just copy everything over, but actually there is one file in include from my repository. It's made by the guys in PSX dev. I don't actually know what it does. I'm told it helps some pain of using some old post-processing tool. I'm too noob to understand, so for now, just leave it there. So copied everything from include to the include, go up one folder, and copy lib. There, that's our SDK setup. Pretty easy. So that's the steps 2. Now let's go for the native Windows steps. So the native Windows steps is to download mipsel, GCC mipsel. So I already did that. And what you'll want to do, so I'm linking to the versions, specifically these versions. All the instructions and my setup for Visual Studio relies on those versions. So we will unzip mipsel, GCC mipsel. Then after unzipping, we need to add this path to the environment paths of Windows. So that's done by click start, click environment, write environment, and it says edit the system environment variables. Click environment variables. Under user variables, if you want to set this path only for this Windows account. If not, you can do it down here. double click path. And normally you didn't have this there, so you just have this or maybe a bunch of other stuff. So we click new, paste it, and we're done. It might require you to log out of Windows or restart, but Windows is getting better at avoiding restarts. Next, we want to download multi-arch and then unzip it to this folder. So that's done by multi-arch. So that's the zip, extract. Yes. I should stop ticking this because it opens it. But anyway, that's done. And we're going to skip this WSL steps for now. And basically you could start coding. So you can close this. You go right click the get started folder and open in Visual Studio Code. If you have these right click options set up. I don't have them set up on this virtual machine, so I copy this path from the get started folder, open Visual Studio, open folder, paste that folder, and we're here. Click terminal, new terminal, make, and when it decides to update, so this is weird, but it's definitely made those files. Okay, it's caught up with us. So there you go. Hello world PSEXE. This is our executable, which we could run in the emulator. And Bob's your uncle. Now let's do all of this using WSL, which has a few tedious more steps, but make clean, removed everything we just compiled. It's very strange that it's not refreshing instantly, but there you go. So to use the WSL method, we have to install the WSL. We have to add this extension to Visual Studio, which, as you'll see, I already have installed. This is what allows Visual Studio to interact with the Visual Studio server in Linux, which is in WSL. So what we have to do then is, so copy this, run, paste that. It will open a shell. It might ask you, yep, do you want to continue because it has administrator capability. You'll want to do this. So this will install or activate the feature in Windows for WSL. So there's another way of doing this. You could go to the Windows features. And down here is, where is it? Windows subsystem for Linux. It's already ticked because we did it from the PowerShell. But then we want to install Ubuntu 20.04. Now, there's a bug in WSL and there's a fix for it, but I found this bug only occurs in a higher version of Ubuntu or an older version of Ubuntu than this one. And this version works fine because there is no more recent GCC mipsel build as of today, even on a higher Ubuntu version. So it's, as far as I know, but it's just not worth to do the extra work. So you can download from the store, install it. I've already done it. When you click install, it will say it's setting up Ubuntu. After a while, it will ask you to set up a username. I set it to user for the purpose of this video. It will then ask you to set your password. You have to input the password blindly twice. Then you do sudo apt get update. I won't do that because it takes a lot of time, but it will basically just update the latest list of binaries from the repositories. Then you want to copy all of this, and it will install all the tools. So each time the first time you run a sudo command, it will ask you for the password, which is user. I have already everything installed, so no issue. And then what you want to do is write code dot. The first time you do this, it will be installing the Visual Studio server for WSL. It will take, I don't know, a few minutes, a couple of minutes, and we're good. And now you'll see Visual Studio, when it launches, it will launch with WSL Ubuntu 20.04 at the bottom, which means it's connected to WSL backend. Yeah, and then what we could do is, let's disconnect from here. So if we want to go back to native Windows, we click here, close remote connection. And let me show you this. So we were in this folder earlier where we compiled the get started hello world. And you see here it says C users /user /desktop, blah, blah, blah. It's clearly a Windows directory. Now, while you're in this folder, you can click here and reopen folder in WSL. It will look almost the same, except in the terminal, we now have a Linux-like path. So it's /mnt for mount /c. And basically it's mounted the C drive over there, and the rest of the paths are the same. So this is Linux in connected to our Visual Studio. So it's a Linux terminal down here. And if we type make, it's going to build the binary. There we go, hello world ps-exe, without using the Windows GCC. So you can, I don't know, no obvious evidence, but believe me, it's used WSL to compile. So pretty awesome. And now what I'll do is I'll switch to my normal workstation to show you how the debugger works with Redux. So be back soon. Now we're on my visual workstation. You'll notice that it's in dark mode because I normally like dark mode for everything, or night mode, whatever they call it. So open Redux. I have a shortcut to Redux. So this is what Redux might look like. I can't remember if the logs is visible by default, but if it's not, I think it is, but if not, somewhere there's a setting. I think logs is always there. Let's see, debug, show logs. So switch on the logs. Next, according to my instructions, so here, start coding. So we want to go configuration, emulation, and you want to switch on the enable debugger, switch on the enable GDB server. And that's it. Then we go to Visual Studio. And so if we were to make, or in fact, let's go straight to the default function. So first of all, we could definitely run this. It's a bit of a pain. We have to open an Explorer. Check this out. It wrote hello world. So that's all this hello world does. It will actually not display anything on the screen. It will print this message down here. And I think this is an old field. Hold on. Because we don't have this, we will break here. Too many here's. Hello world. But now what's cool is debugging. So debugging, for example, breakpoints. So let's make a new command. It's a print hello world, stop here. So, and we'll click this red circle at line 13. So that's our breakpoint. We have to make again. Make, it's rebuilt it, rebuilt the binary. And now if we go to run and debug, and we launch, it's going to load the executable into Redux. Sort file is more recent. Okay, hold on. So something that shouldn't have happened. And it might be because we loaded the executable directly. So let's do that again. And there we go. So I have set it a break. It will always break as soon as it enters main. So it stopped here on the first hello world. And now we're going to tell it to continue until the next breakpoint. So we should see hello world, hello world. Let's check if that happens. Yes. And it hasn't printed the stop here because it stopped over there. And if we continue, it should print out stop here, hello world. Let's check that. And it does. So this is pretty cool if you want to make breakpoints, watch variables, check the stack. A lot of cool functionality. The functionality is pretty similar to debugging a standard C program. So it's not the purpose of being a debugging tutorial, but yeah, it's an option, a cool tool to have. And just for completeness sake, make clean. And what we'll do is do this using WSL just to prove that this works in WSL. So I'm going to reopen this folder in WSL. Yes, we trust these people because that's me. I've also noticed I've set my WSL to have a different theme color scheme, so that's why I know if I'm in Linux mode or Windows mode. So you can explore that stuff later. There's somewhere here like themes and color schemes you can install. So may not see, so let's do this differently now. 2, 3. So reset. So terminal make. And now let's say, oh wait a minute, let's set the breakpoint here. So and if we launch, so now it will break at main. And this is again now using the everything on Linux. It's awesome. So we're about to enter main, and it should now print hello world 1, hello 2, stop here. And it's gone a bit crazy, but yeah, we stopped here. And if we continue, it should print hello world 3, which it did. I can't remember if the restart works. The restart also works. Break at main, continue, hello world 1, hello world 2, stop here. And continue, hello world 3. So that's it for this video. This is my crash course on getting PlayStation development SDK set up. It's very minimalistic. Yeah, I will also mention or point out there is one more thing I've added, which is a task. So if you go to tasks, Task Explorer, assuming you installed the necessary tools, so there's this open run knobs. So I've included knobs, a beta or a modified version of knobs. If you don't know what's knobs, don't worry. So basically there is a methodology of using a serial cable to connect your PlayStation to your PC, and using a cheat card or a CD with Unirom flashed either on the cheat card or on the CD. And basically what this allows you is to, instead of interact with PCSX-Redux, interact with your real PlayStation hardware. So this will send the executable over serial, and it will let you do the breakpoints, make the PlayStation pause at that line, the instruction line. yeah, it just works. The only things I will mention is you need to have a USB to serial. So there's, research USB serial cable for PlayStation, and you need to set up the COM port if you're using Windows, or you need to set up the serial path if you're using WSL or Linux. And once I'm on this topic, there's one more item I want to point out. So if you are using WSL2, so my instructions rely on WSL1. If you use WSL2, this instruction, this way of launching knobs, so this knobs version made by Skitch will not work, because you probably need to set up the real IP address of your Windows PC. It's just a quirk or a detail of how WSL2, the Linux container, interacts with the host Windows. Similarly, in here, launch JSON. I have also, let me remember here, localhost. You'll have to change localhost to the IP address of your Windows PC, but that's all. So because of these two tedious points, mainly I try to stick to WSL1. There are so many guides online saying switch to WSL2. I have no concrete reason to do that, but anyway. So hope this was useful, and yeah, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.